It's all about controlling the narrative. Let's zoom out for a second and take a look at some of these social media companies. We have Twitter, which is owned by Elon Musk, and Twitter is now a huge disinformation swamp and actually the main vehicle that was used to spread Russian propaganda. Then you have Facebook, which is boomer central and the epicenter for all sorts of social engineering that was done during the 2016 election and then later in 2020 and 2024. Now, Facebook is owned by Meta. Meta also owns Instagram. Both of those platforms are extremely engineered to be favorable of misinformation and disinformation. And anything that's overtly political, they nerf if it's not of the right flavor of political conversation. And what have you seen Mark Zuckerberg do since Trump got elected? He's been tying himself in pretzels in an attempt to kiss the ring and lick his boots. Where do you think Facebook's priorities are going to be when it comes to political content as a social media platform? And in fact, when you look at every social media platform that is of consequence in the US, what sort of content do they favor? They're owned by Americans and they favor disinformation, misinformation, and typically anything that comes out of right-wing circles. When you look at every major social media platform in the US, with the exception of Blue Sky, their content is decidedly tilted towards those of right-wing commentators who peddle and traffic in misinformation and disinformation. And certainly, if you're a creator of color, you have to work twice as hard to get half as far on any of those platforms. Why is this important? Think about what's going on in terms of the TikTok ban. What is the central piece or central bone of contention in terms of TikTok's survival? The government is trying to force TikTok to sell to an American buyer. And when you think about the implications of that, what does that create? That creates an American monopoly on all social media and specifically how the narrative is to be spun in order to support the American agenda. That's what this is all about. And don't get me wrong, this is not saying that because TikTok is owned by China or has relationships with China that we should be looking at China as the good guy in this. When we think about this entire argument and debate between TikTok existing in the US market or not, it's all about building monopolies. American oligarchs want a monopoly on messaging, and they see TikTok as the last piece of the puzzle for them to own a monopoly on messaging. And what happens when you have a monopoly on anything? Whenever you've seen monopolies exist, they've been a vehicle for evil, and you've seen it in every other industry. So what makes social media exempt? That's the game that they're playing. That's the game that the government is pushing. They want to control the message that supports American interests and specifically supports the interests of American billionaires who want to turn us into a dystopian hellscape. That is what this TikTok ban is about. Don't get confused over national security and data security. We've already seen that it doesn't mean anything, especially when you factor in what Elon Musk has been doing in locking out federal workers and hacking every system available to get access to the American citizens' private information. This isn't about data security. This is about controlling the message and controlling the message in such a way that the billionaires and the broligarchy can get away with whatever they want to get away with in the process of crushing everybody else. That's what this is about.